Hi, welcome to week 11 of writing proposals and grants. As far as I can tell, most of you have finished the first draft of your first grant proposal. So congratulations on that. I have read all of them that have been put up on the forum so far, and I've posted some general notes for you in this week's lecture. There are some key things about the proposals I want to make sure that you pay attention to. So one is all the administrative requirements. As I've been explaining all class, foundations are very particular about their submission requirements, and so I am mirroring that. So your proposal needs to be exactly 15 pages. Longer or shorter means you will lose points. It should have a 1-inch margin, it should be an Arial 12-point font, and it should be double-spaced. So make sure you keep to those requirements. Relative to the 4 sections that you submitted this week, so the executive summary, one of the key things that I'm seeing in the executive summaries is that you need to connect to the foundation or a foundation that you have done research on. That's part of why we did the foundation research first, so that you would know a foundation that would be a good match for the project you're proposing. So your executive summary needs to start with the first sentence. It says, XYZ nonprofit is requesting a $100,000 grant from XYZ Foundation. And it's not just a formulaic thing to do. You need to be including in what you have written some connection to the foundation's priorities, to their program areas that make you a good fit. And remember that the foundation program officer is going to have 100 proposals or more and may only read one thing, which is your executive summary. Does it tell them who you are, why you are the best organization to solve this problem, and what kind of impact it's going to have when the foundation funds you? It's also really important not to put language like if we get funded or if we're successful or with funding. Basically, you're proposing something that will happen and with the funding, but you don't have to say that part of it. You have to say, this is what we're going to do with $100,000. Every time you start saying if or if successful in a proposal, you're undermining the confidence that your proposal is conveying to the foundation. Relative to the valuations, again, the issue is, did you put some numeric targets in your project description? And if you have put numeric targets in there, your evaluation really is, how are you going to keep track of those numbers and report them back to the foundation? They just want to know that what they funded you to do, you did. And so numeric targets are really important in both the project description and in your evaluation. Relative to the sustainability sections, again, use the names of some of the foundations that you did research on. That's why you did research on it. So you're going to say, we're going to sustain this after the grant is run out by approaching X, Y, and Z foundations, by doing some individual giving, whatever you're doing, but you have some ready-made information that you can use from the previous assignment. And finally, the conclusion really is your parting conversation with the person, or the program officer, the foundation that you're applying to. So it's very important to be inspirational and to really talk about the impact on the community. And once again, make a connection to the foundation and it being a partner with you in making this happen. So those are the key notes that I have on your proposals. I think they're ones that I've seen that have been on the forums the last 2 weeks are moving along nicely. You now have until February. You have until November 25th to finish your proposal. That is the Sunday after Thanksgiving. It's 2 weeks. So what I would advise you to do is actually finish it before Thanksgiving so you can catch your breath a little bit over Thanksgiving weekend. I know it's been a very hot and heavy and busy semester for you. So if you're done with the proposal early, feel free to submit it. One last thing to do with your proposals is to let them sit for a day or two and then reread them. And you want to also proofread them very, very carefully. Now, listen, I can't proofread my own documents because I don't see any of the letters I've left out or any of the tense mistakes or any of that sort of thing. Have somebody else read it who has not read it 400 times already. They're going to find things that you can't find. Now, the other trick to proofreading is to actually read out loud. Read it out loud slowly to somebody, and you're going to start seeing some of the things that you have omitted. Again, the most important thing is to do both of those things, and to also let it sit for a day so that you're not so ingrained in it. Some of the mistakes that you've seen in some of the submitted proposals that I've shown to you this semester are because the grant writers ran out of time. They were working on it up to the last minute. They didn't have a moment to let it sit, to reread it, to step away from it, and to come back and to see what was missing. So you're going to want to kind of institute that as a practice in your grant proposal writing. So this week we're going to move on to, and also this week you'll be, you've talked to your nonprofit executive last week. This week you have a reflection paper to work on. All the instructions are in the assignment tab, so go ahead and get that done. That paper is designed for you to reflect some on what you've been learning over the last segment of this semester since the last reflection paper. And it's really meant to be reflective. So think a little bit about how all these lessons are influencing how you think about grant writing, how you think about government funding, how you think about anything that major gifts that we've worked on this semester. So again, it's about reflection. It's not about just answering the questions, but be thoughtful about is it changing how you're thinking about things? Is adding new ideas to how you're thinking about your career or whether or not you want to be in the nonprofit world, etc. And then the other thing, this week we're going to move on to donor relations. Donor relations is a very increasingly important part of fundraising and development departments. So, and it's also an area where they need a lot of writers, and that's growing. So this is, as a professional writer, an area that you might want to look into. There's grant proposal writing, obviously, there's annual fund writing, there's major gifts writing, but there's also creating gratifying experiences for donors. As you recall from major gifts, the donor life cycle is a circular thing. The last step in that circle is having a gratifying gift experience so that you can be asked for another gift. If the organization does not handle that part right, they will not be renewing donors and they will not be cultivating donors for higher gifts. So this week is a focus on donor relations. You are going to hear from a couple of really important leaders in the field. One is Lynn Wester, who is the donor relations guru and is considered one of the leading experts on donor relations in the country. You're also going to hear from Karen Osborne, who is a very important leader nationally and internationally on fundraising. And actually, she's based up in Westchester and has a lot of things to say about not just donor relations, but major gifts and board relationships as well. As always, I'm available for any calls or conferences or questions that you have, and I look forward to seeing the final versions of your grant proposal. Lastly, have a good week and have a good Thanksgiving coming up. Take care.